Hello and welcome. Today we'll be starting to make the weapon system for the player, and first we will be discussing on how we can implement that. So I have here my notepad. So the first thing that we need to have here in the system is a place where we can retrieve the weapon information, such as the prefab. Um, I put here weapon info like prefab. We also need the icon. Um, and probably that's all because the weapon information about damage and sprites and animation will be inside the prefab. So that's the first thing that we need to have here. And this, I think it's better to be inside the scriptable object. So we can have this scriptable object that have this icon and prefab. All right. So this will be, I think I'll be creating a dictionary with keys and values that will have the key that will be the weapon type and the value will be the prefab. All right. Weapon type, value, uh, weapon prefab. So this is basically what we need to do here. It's create a scriptable object where we can have these prefabs and icons. All right, so let's start making a new folder here. Scripts. I think I'll put inside this controllers for the weapons. This we can. This one I'll create another folder, but for now we just create I think a new folder here called main. Let's say weapons container, something like that. We can change the name later, but for now I'll be creating like this. Uh, let's wait. This will be a select class inherited from the scripted object, script table. Let me wait the license. All right. Remove this. Uh, we can also use the create asset menu. File name will be weapons container. And for the menu name, we can use the uh, weapons, just weapons. Let's simplify here. So first, we need a serialized class inside this scriptable object, serializable, that will have weapon. Let's say weapon, and here we will have public field, public game object, weapon prefab, get private set, and another field. I think the UI part I will do later. So for now, let's just make the prefab and instantiation part. All right. This will also be slid. All right. And here we can use serialized field for this weapon. I will create an array of weapons. And let's say weapons. And here I think I will also create another enum here, public enum weapon type, and here we can give the name like default knife. shield, and some other weapons. For now, just use the default. So we'll also have this one right here, where it will be a weapon type. And then we can have a dictionary of weapon type, having the weapon as a value. Let's say weapons. We already have one here, so let's say weapons definition. As weapons new, and on enable, we can populate this dictionary by looping throughout the weapon definition. And for each weapon, we can add the weapons dictionary, the weapon type, and the weapon, just the weapon. Alright, I think I should add this, but for now, let's just add this prefab. Alright, so we can go back to Unity. Let's create a script table object. Weapons. I got an error here. Oh, because I forgot to initialize, but now we can add, let's say, a new weapon here like shield and the prefab of the weapon. So that's the next thing that we're gonna do.
Okay, so before we continue, I got all the weapons names that we have in the game. The lance, dagger, torch, axe, and shield. And let's add here inside the weapons type. Let's create here, add this. Alright, and also change this name to add an E, enum. Alright, just the convention. Alright, so now we can also change this to weapon definition. And now we have all 5 weapons that we can now create the prefabs. So let's go inside the player spreadsheet. Then here we got the lance, shield, dagger, axe, and torch. Let's start by the lance, the default one. And I think I will also scripts. I think I will for the entities. No, I'll just skip the weapons definitions inside the player folder. Later we can change that, but for now I'll just leave it there. So let's for the prefabs folder and let's add um, a new weapon here on the scene, the lance. I'll put in the same position of the player just to test it. Um, I think it's good. I think it's the same size. So let me just do some adjustments here. With a new, I would just call this PF of prefab um, length weapon render. paste position here, reset this one. I will also add a collider here to match size of the weapon, kind of like this. And I think I will also create a new layer for the weapons, but for now, I think I'll just use like this. So let's go to the entities, player, um, prefabs. We have lance weapon, so it's right here, so we can use as many as we want. And now we can go to the script table object and add a new BF lance weapon for the lance type. So now every time that we like instantiate this lance type, it will come with this prefab. So just gotta create the next ones. I'll just create and cut this part because it's basically the same thing. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now we have all the prefabs here in the scene, as you can see. Um, and what we gotta do now is we basically need, need to create a health component system. You know, um, I will create this before continuing the other play states, because some of them will need this health component. That's why I want to create now, because it will also be used by the weapons. So I will just create entities. Let's create a global folder that will be used for the entities and health. Let's create here an health component. Here we can just make a seal. It will be a model behavior because it will be attached on the game objects. Let's get entities and global entity. Here we will have int. We could actually use it uint just to make sure. Um, health. It will be current health. I'll be also be using an event action. Received damage. Another event called diet. I just have a private, another uint, max health. And here on awake, we can set the current health to max health. This should be private, alright, current health. So we don't need to, and also the max health. We won't have like health bars or something. That's why we don't need to access the current value. Even if we did, I think I would just create a public method here. So we can now create a public void take damage, damage amount, current health, minus equals to damage amount if we don't have any health anymore, is less or equals to 0, we die it. So let's just invoke the event that we die it. And then we return here. Else we just invoke that we are still alive, but we receive damage. All right. I don't think I will make this like an interface or something because this will be used for all the entities, so it will be the same thing. I think there's no need to create an interface because even if I did create one, I would only be using here inside the self component, I guess. Um, if we in the future need to have something more generic, maybe an interface would be better, but for now, this self component does the job. So now what we can do is create another script here, create trigger damage, for example, where we will just create a trigger for the 2D. And if we try get component on the health component inside the collision object, out health component, we will just take damage. I think I will just change this method name to apply damage. It will be better. Apply damage. All right. And here inside this trigger damage, I will also, and here inside the trigger damage, I will also create a serialized field about uint of damage uh, amount of when we enter this trigger. This trigger can like be the enemy's trouble objects and also the weapons and anything that will would like to apply damage to the entity every time that we enter this trigger. So we can just apply the damage amount, and that's it. So maybe I should also deactivate the object, but I don't think I will do this here. That's why I'll be only applying damage here on this component. So we can just leave like that. Later, I will also move this scripts and folders on the project to be more organized. But for now, I just want to have uh, the assets before we organize this. So now we can go to the all the weapons and add the trigger damage. Damage amount it will be for every weapon. I guess it will be only one. All right, and I think that's it um, for the weapons and health. Now we can go back here to the weapons container and add more. Let me just create a dagger weapon, torch, axe, and the shield. Okay. Uh, or I forgot to change to should. All right, now it's good. And now you can also just add and check here if this is not equals to null. Actually, if it is actually equals to null, we can just return. And I'll also move this from here, but let's add in to do here to do move this from here. All right, so now we can go to the player attack state, player state machine states, player attack state. We will need a reference to that scriptable object. So we will create a parameter here, just like we did like for the jump. So let me just jump, or where's movement for the movement actually. I thought that we did for jump as well. And no. All right. I think we can just create another one later. But okay. Here let's create a player attack state. Player attack parameters. We have the name. Here we got the movement speed. That will be actually a weapons container. Weapons container. And this will be this name right here. All right. So now we can just create a private player attack parameters. And we can just get the parameter from the states parameter on the setup state. And these attack parameters. So we can get the actual weapons container. All right. So let me just save this. All right. Go back to the settings, parameters. Where's the let me see, where's this parameter? I also forgot to add here the get state parameter object so that we can return a new tag parameters. All right. So now we can see here. Weapons container, we can just weapons container. All right. So now we got a reference to this right here. Now we can use it. So what I'm gonna do here, I think it will be just let me just test this out. I will just create one method called instantiate weapon. Um, it will just instantiate inside the player. So let me get the attack parameters. I actually need to create a public I read dictionary from the e weapon type in the weapon definition and weapons definitions, and here on enable, I can just set that to weapons dictionary. All right, now let's go back here, and we can just use the weapons definition inside the lens, the default one. Let's create the player transform, and that's it. Uh, I forgot to use the prefab. All right. So every time that we enter this state, we will just instantiate the weapon. This should work. Let's see how it goes. Since we have only one attack state, it will be easier to manage that. So let me hit play, and for whatever reason, this isn't working. All right, so it is actually working. I just forgot that I was instantiating far from the player. So now, as you can see, once I enter the state, it creates a new object. And it's also in the same direction that I'm looking. All right, that's good. Um, Now what we need to do is, well, I remember that there are some objects throwable by the enemies where they just go in one direction. And since the player also does that with some weapons, I think we can just create a new script here like throwable, I think throwable uh, object component, throwable object, for example. Actually, just throwable because it will be just like that. And also, let me just move to this scripts folder, this health and throwable. So here, let's create the throwable object component, and just throwable object. And here we can just go to the entities global namespace. And here we can just get a public void um, set movement direction. Let's get the normalized direction. Let's just skip direction because then we will know that's just to normalize it. And then we can also have speed. So float speed. I think uh, I think I'll just keep the speed inside this object. If we want to change that later, we do, but for now I'll just keep inside here. So let's create a private float movement speed. So that movement direction, I will cache this movement direction. I'll also cache the transform that I will get on awake. Transform is equals to transform. And let me get the movement direction. And I think I'll do the movement inside the update method. Uh, or to fix it, maybe I will be using rigid bodies because we will need to collide with the objects from the world. So I'll be using the fixed update. So for that reason, I will also need, instead of transform, I will use the rigid body. So let's, just to make sure, let's require the component type of rigid body. Rigid body, um, get component, rigid body to D. All right, so the way that I did here was, instead of using the update, I just applied one time the movement direction using the movement speed. Uh, Once I instantiate the weapon here, you can see that I'm using, um, this is temporary because I'm using the actual transform. I started off using the animator. I also need to adjust the weapon throw height because since we can crouch, it's not the same height that we will be instantiating the weapon. But for now, just for testing, I'm instantiating inside the animator object using the throwable object that we just applied the movement and just keeps following the velocity. So as you can see here, I disabled the player with the body just to not collide here. So you can see that once I throw the object, it just keeps going in that direction. Let me just expand this and see that they're coming here like this. And they just keep following to infinity. I'll be fixing that later. Once we get off the screen, that will be not in rendering, we'll be deactivating the object. But for now, let me just create a new layer here called let's say damage object. Maybe let's, because there's another types of objects that will be colliding with the player, so I don't think that it would be better to us just use one layer for that. Well, I will just create two layers here, called one for the weapon, let's say player weapon, and one for the enemy uh, damageable, so that we can use the other enemies' weapons here. So let's go to the project settings, physics, and here the player weapon will not collide with the player right here. And the enemy damageable will not collide with itself. Same with the player weapon. And for the player, it will collide enemy damage. Alright. So now we can just set the layer to the player. And here inside the weapons, we'll be setting. I also forgot that I added a box collider instead of a box collider 2D. So let me just fix this. Maybe you can just copy this value right here. Add a box collider and set again. Let me also add the throwable object. Here, I will just for this one it will be different. So maybe I will not be using the maybe inheriting from the throwable object to expand this. Maybe, I don't know, but for now, let's just skip the trouble. For the movement speed, it will be 850 and freeze the position. All right. Um, so let me go to the dagger. It will be the same thing.
Remove trouble. Box collider. This is a unique error. 6 based. It's good. Let me move this component down. Freeze the position. Set this in valley. And also do this for the shield. And we'll also have limits for the shield, but this is only for the shield, I guess, so we can create a logic for him later. So let me just stop this. Base right here. TriggerDamage. Freeze the Y position. Move up. And same for the torch. I just need to copy this component. Add the collider. It's good. Maybe 0, just like that. Let's add the trouble. Freeze. And set the same.
Valid. Now for all the weapons, we can just set to the player weapon. And I think that's good. Now we can just throw here. I'm not moving because I deactivated this. All right. Uh, I'm not attacking when I'm running. Let me fix this. I just need to add a new transition here inside the movement. I can go to the attack state if I'm ground and is attacking. I think this fixes. All right, it kind of does. I think I will also need to check another condition just to check if I'm on ground. Inside the ladders, the attack state. So, but that's but I'll do that later. For now, I'll just keep like this. But the game is starting to feel like a real Ghosts and Goblins now. Um, at least now we can throw weapons. It kind of, if you see this, maybe you can tell that it's on the right way to um, become a real Ghosts and Goblins. So we just need to fix the throw height now. I think I'll do that for the next video. Um, but now things start to get more interesting because we were just creating the player states. We'll also need to come back here and add it and add more states as well for the player and for the enemies. But it's now the base is, I would say, almost complete, so it will be easier to manage now. And but okay, that's it. Let me just test another weapon here. Player attack. Let's say that I will be using the dagger. And later on, we'll be also implementing the object pool for the not only for the weapons, but for every object that needs to be recycled. But I'll be probably starting uh, implementing on the weapons. All right, but I think this looks good. All right, so that's it for this video. We created this weapon system, and as you can see here, it's not good. be instantiating this object because they just keep going like this. But we'll be fixing that and also be implementing the object pool. There's a lot of stuff that we'll be implementing here in this game, but for now, let's just keep like this. And for the next video, I'll be continuing the weapons inside the player attack state so that we can adjust the throw height. All right, and also fix this problem where they just keep going even if they're not on screen. All right, and probably I'll be also implementing the different uh, throw behaviors for the torch and where's the axis. All right, and implementing these animations as well. All right, but that's for the next video. Um, but yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.